Today's video is going to be incredibly powerful for you because today I'm going to teach you how to legally start your online business. Normally when I do a video, I focus on one pillar from my Lock It Down legal protection system, but you're in for a treat today because today's video covers 3 pillars from my Lock It Down legal protection system. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, my name is Jim Hart. I'm the founding attorney here at Hawthorn Law, where we help online businesses just like you to get your legal house in order so that you can focus on what you do best, and that is building a business that truly matters in the world. I'm also the creator of the Lock It Down legal protection system, where we help turn worried entrepreneurs into legally legit CEOs. Speaking of worried entrepreneurs, when it comes to starting an online business, what most worried entrepreneurs do is nothing. And that's because they are worried that they're going to mess up the legal stuff, so they never get started to begin with, or they waste hours upon hours of their time researching legal issues, wondering whether or not they're doing things correctly from the beginning, which, while yes, can be very important, it also is a surefire way to make sure that you never get out of the starting gate with your online business. And that's because honestly, you're just never confident in what you're doing with your business. You don't know if you're doing it correctly, and you're just one of those people who, if you're not doing it correctly, it's never going to happen. And this is why most worried entrepreneurs will fail with their online business. But in today's video, we're going to try and fix all that in 10 or 15 minutes so that you can go from worried entrepreneur to legally legit CEO in a fraction of the time. Now, I've broken this down into 12 steps. The first 6 steps are steps that you really need to think about before you get started with your online business. The second 6 steps are things that you're going to want to deal with once you get your business going. So whether you're just starting out or you're more experienced, these are things that you need to be aware of. So there are 12 steps. Let's hop into them because I have a feeling this is going to take a little while to record all these steps, but we'll see what we can do. Step number 1 is you need to apply for your EIN number. Your EIN number is what is going to identify you with the IRS as having had a business. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jim, wait a minute. I haven't started my LLC yet. How can I do my EIN without an LLC? And you would be right. And what I'm suggesting you do here is you get that EIN number so that you can start your business off as a sole proprietorship, because at this point you're just in the very beginning stages. We don't even have an idea yet. You certainly aren't having any revenue. Does that make sense? You certainly don't have any revenue coming in. So step number 1 is I just want you to get that EIN number, and the reason I want you to do that is because for step number 2, you're going to head on over to your local bank and you're going to open up a business bank account in the name of your sole proprietorship. And the reason for this is because so many people make the mistake of commingling their business and their personal assets. They use their social security number for the business. And while yes, you can do that, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's just better and cleaner to set up a separate EIN for your business from the get-go. Open up your own bank account for the business from the get-go, and then deposit some seed money into that account, and then you can use that account to start funding things that you might need for your business in the very early stages. Which brings us to step number 3, and that is to develop, research, and test your business idea. The last thing I want you doing when you're getting started with your online business is jumping in with both feet on an idea that you have not tested and validated. It is incredibly important that you test and validate whatever business idea you might have before you start investing a lot of time and money into that idea. There goes my script. And by script, I mean list of bullet points to talk about. So that's step number 3. You want to develop, test, and validate your initial business idea, whatever that might be. Step number 4 is you want to make sure that you get contracts in place for your website. You might, at this point, be thinking about setting up a simple landing page for your website where you can collect email addresses and start communicating with people via email. And this is the part where you need to have some simple contracts in place on your website. This is going to be pillar number 2 of the Lock It Down legal protection system to make sure your online presence is protected. And so this is something that is very important to do very early on in the process. You're going to need to make sure you have at a minimum a privacy policy and a terms of service or terms of use for your website. Step number 5 is actually not legal at all. It's to start getting some sales for your business. This is one of the most important ways that you can actually validate your business idea, is to start getting some sales. So by now, you should hopefully be getting some people offering to pay you for whatever it is that you might be offering. So before you start moving on to further steps, you want to make sure you're getting some sales in the door and getting some traction and getting some revenue. That's not only is that going to just help you validate and make sure you're on the right track, but it's going to give you a big emotional boost knowing that your business is actually maybe going to succeed at some point. Now, at this point, you need to move on to step number 6, and that is to just check with your local jurisdiction and make sure that you don't need any business licenses for what you're doing. A lot of the people who watch this channel are online businesses, specifically course creators and coaches, maybe freelancers, who are building a one-to-one or maybe group coaching program or online course. And frankly, in most jurisdictions, you're not going to need a business license to do that, but you just want to check and make sure. Typically, you're going to check with your city or town, your county where you live, or your state, and see if there's any requirements that you have a business license for what it is that you're going to be trying to do. Now, as I said before, those are the first 6. I can't talk today. Now, as I said before, those are the first 6 steps that you need to take when you're just getting started with your online business to set it up the right way, the legal way. The next 6 steps that we're going to be talking about are things that you're going to want to do once your business is somewhat established, once you've got some sales coming in, and once you're ready to start really putting the pedal to the metal and getting things going with your online business. So let's get into those steps. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to start to think about the name of your business. I did another video a while back, about a little over 2 years ago, where I talk about picking the name as one of the very first things that you want to do with your online business. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that advice anymore, but I don't want you focused on the name early on when you're just getting started and still developing an idea. Oftentimes you need the profitable idea before you can come up with a good name for your business. So now that we've got all that out of the way, let's talk about developing a name for your business. You want to start thinking about that. Along those lines, you're going to want to go ahead and do a search to make sure nobody else is using the name that you're thinking about. And by the way, by name, I mean you could be talking about a name for your business itself. You could be talking about a name for your brand, whatever that might be. You could be talking about a name for the products or services that you're going to be selling. So you want to start doing some searches. You want to do trademark searches. You want to look on Google and check and see if anyone else is using those names. You want to check with the Secretary of State's office in your jurisdiction to make sure that nobody else has chosen that name for their business. So there's all sorts of databases that you're going to want to check to make sure you're using a name that you can actually legally use. And then you also might want to think about at this point, because right now we haven't started an LLC yet. And if you haven't started an LLC yet, you might want to think about filing for a DBA, which is a doing business as, or in some jurisdictions it's called a fictitious name. There are other names depending on where you live and what state you're operating in. And so you might want to think about starting to do some of those type of things for your business. All right, step number 8, I think, is where we're at. And that would be now to start thinking about forming an LLC. I've done other videos on the channel talking about when you should and should not be forming an LLC for your online business, but this is something you need to start thinking about at this point. I'm assuming that you've got some sales coming in and you're good to go with the idea that you've developed. You've validated your idea and you've started to think about some names for your business or your brand. And so now is the point where you might want to start thinking about forming that LLC for your business. So if you are thinking that setting up your LLC is something you want to do, once you do that, you're going to need to set up a new EIN number and a new business bank account, and you're going to need to transfer all those assets from your old bank account into your new. And you just need to be aware that when you do all that, you're going to have 2 separate tax issues. You're going to have 2 separate businesses for tax purposes, and so you're going to need to transfer everything into the new LLC. That's kind of beyond the scope of this video, but I do want to let you know that that is somewhat of a complicated process. You might need to seek out some legal help or some professional help to get you squared away and make sure you're doing that the right way. All right, number 9 is to do, man, I'm having a hard time today. Let's get some water and see if that helps. All right, number 9 is that you need to start thinking about whether or not you should register for trademark protection for your name. I talk to a lot of people. This is not necessary early on. You know, it could be that their name is not appropriate for being trademarked. It could be that their business is just it isn't established enough where that they're confident in the business idea that they need to go ahead and trademark their name. But there's other people that are onto a good business idea and they've got a really great name. And in those cases, I definitely recommend moving forward and thinking about filing for trademark protection. The nice thing about doing that is you can do that even before you're selling under that brand name. And you can file what's called a 1B trademark application, and then you can submit a notice of use to the trademark office once you start selling under that brand name, and then your trademark will go ahead and register, assuming there's no other issues with your application. That's something that should be, at least, if not something you need to do right now, at least should be in the back burner of your brain. Just thinking about this is something that you might want to do. Filing for trademark protection is one of the least expensive investments you can put in your business that is going to return so much ROI over time, especially if at some point later on down the road you decide that you want to sell your business. I think filing a trademark is a great idea, so definitely want to think about that. All right, number 10 is you need to start thinking about whether or not you need insurance for your business. Now, filing an LLC is one type of insurance, but having actual insurance in place for your business is another type of insurance. And depending on the industry you're in, depending on how much legal liability you may be exposed to, getting a general liability policy in place for your business might be a good idea. So I highly recommend it's something that you should think about when you're getting started and things are really clicking with your business. Number 11 is that you need to start following the Profit First system if you haven't already done so in your business. I've talked about Profit First before on the channel. You know how much I love this book by Michael Michalowicz and the system that he's developed to help you save money for operating expenses, taxes, profit, and the amount of money that you're going to pay yourself from your business. There's a link down below to make sure, check out the book if you'd like. I did another video on the channel about that I'll link to up here somewhere. Profit First is the way you need to run your business, especially if you are a solopreneur and with an online business. It's going to help you tremendously, and it's going to give you so much more confidence that you can handle the financial aspects of your business. It's also going to let you know that you have enough money to pay those taxes when they come due, because part of the system is setting aside money that you can use for quarterly tax payments. And I can tell you, this is incredibly important. I can't tell you how many businesses I've dealt with who run their business, they have a great year financially, and then they do their taxes and they realize how much money they owe in taxes that they never actually planned for. And so they don't actually have the money to spend on taxes. So that is a big issue. You need to make sure that you take care of that. I highly recommend you check out the Profit First system and start implementing that into your business as early as possible. Step number 12, you need to start thinking about whether you should make an S election for your taxes for the business. Now, you need to have an LLC or a corporation to do this. You can't elect an S status for taxes if you are a sole proprietorship, so that is one reason why you might want to think about starting that LLC. But once you have gone ahead and made that S election, you have 75 days from the date that you file your LLC, that you register your LLC, to make that initial S election. Or if you filed your LLC last year, so like in 2020, you've got until March 15th of this year, which by the time you see this video, a couple days ago. I gave a reminder on Friday's video that you need to be thinking about that, so don't come to me and crying if you missed the deadline. That being said, there are ways to file late, if you filed late, and still get that S election retroactive to the beginning of 2021, if that's something you would like to do. And when you file that S election, the next step is going to be to run your first payroll. And I've got an awesome payroll provider down in the description. If you go to hawthornlaw.net/payroll, they'll get you set up. The first month is free. First month or two is free, I can't remember. Anyway, they're down there, great. I do get an affiliate commission, FYI, but I highly recommend this provider, so you want to check into that. If you would like to learn more about what you need to do to legally protect your online business, I've got another video right here that you can check out, and that's going to get you squared away. Thank you so much for watching today, folks. Hopefully this has been truly life-changing, and we'll see you in the next video.